I honestly believe that every human, and particularly every entrepreneur, has genius to share with the world. And what a fantastic opportunity to do it in a Teachable course. This has been my platform of choice for a really long time, and personally have been able to impact thousands of brand builders. And I know that the same infinite ripple effect is available to you when you choose to show up and to share your work with the world. So before we talk anything with packaging it up, making it, a premium option in people's mind, how you show up as an entrepreneur, all of those things are great, but let's remember why we're doing this. And this is why. The world truly needs your genius. So let's get it out into the world. And to do that, I am going to teach you my clarity code framework. And we are unlocking the 4 keys for an in-demand brand. So whether you sell courses or consulting or services or even a physical product, these 4 elements are crucial to help your people, your humans that you're meant to serve and impact, to understand the value of what you're offering. And this is going to be super fun because I have essentially taken just a tiny little exercise from each of the first 4 days of my 5-day live Clarity Week workshop, and I'm sharing them with you here for free. To set the stage, let's see if any of this sounds familiar. So as an entrepreneur, you get started and you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I'm gonna be successful, but there is so much to learn. What am I doing? And then you dive into everything that's available online. Workshops like this, YouTube videos, podcasts, freebies, checklists, all of the things. You're like, I am figuring this out. This is amazing. But then you consume all of that content and you feel like you still aren't really sure what you should do for your business, for your brand. But then you find an expert or a coach or some other amazing human that's a little bit farther down the road from you. And you're like, they know the way. I'm just gonna follow what they say and this is all going to work out. But then sometimes it doesn't quite work out the way that you expected. Maybe you implemented the strategy step by step by step by step, and you didn't see quite the same results that other people did, or even that coach or consultant did. So you're like, But then you find a new coach or consultant or idea, and you get excited again. And when that doesn't work out as maybe you expected or hoped, I hate this stage of the process, but it is very common to feel like, oh my goodness, what is wrong with me? Why am I not seeing the results that I want to get? And what a lot of people do at that point in time is they're like, I'm just gonna throw everything up in the air and start from scratch. I must be doing everything wrong. It's time for a new name, a new product, a new site, new everything. And it doesn't have to be this way. We don't have to start from scratch to see the results that we're looking for. We just have to go about it in a different way. And we are going to talk about what that way is here in this quick class. Definitely put down the cell phone, turn off Instagram, except if you want to take a quick shot and tag me, that would be amazing. I love to see my community there on Instagram or in other places, tag Teachable, all of those good things. But I apologize because I am going to go really, really quickly through this content. So the secret isn't in finding the best, newest strategy or next newest guru. It's really about going inside to figure out who you are as a brand. This is the secret. It's not about modeling success. It's about getting to the core essence of who you are, how you best serve, the most value that you bring to the world, and packaging that up into a beautiful container that people can understand the value that you bring. And if I had $1 for every time somebody just said, just be yourself, I'd be a lot wealthier than I am today, because that in itself is incomplete. We actually need tools and frameworks and systems to think through each aspect of what being yourself actually means. So let's do that. If we have not met before, my name is Kaye Putnam. Hello, I am the resident brand nerd in these parts. You may know me by a brand personality quiz that's on my website. It identifies your brand archetype. It's been taken. I just leave 100,000 on all of the slides and all of my marketing because I got tired of changing it in all of the places. But I can let you know, since you're watching here, it's up over 200,000 times that this quiz has been taken now, which is mind-blowing when I think about all of you incredible humans that are getting to the truth of your brand through that particular tool. I've been behind the scenes of over 1,000 brands, ranging from one-on-one clients to students that I serve in my Teachable courses. My background is in marketing with a psychology concentration, but really the true learning has happened here in business. I launched my first course back in 2015, sold a couple of them, and then by implementing this process in my own brand and walking what I teach, the results have just snowballed over time. So I can't wait for you to see similar or better results as you implement this type of work into your business. Of course, it all depends on your industry, your level of expertise, all of those things, but growth becomes much more accessible when you have the certainty, the clarity, and the confidence in who you are and what you stand for. And the 4 elements, the 4 keys that I'm going to teach you, we're going to have one exercise for each of these powerful elements of your brand, are your brand core, your brand orbit, demand, and energy. I love me some acronyms. Maybe it was because I was married to a military man. He's now out of the military, but they also love acronyms. So this is the Clarity Code, CODE. Core is all about the core truths, who you are on the inside. Orbit is how you attract and nurture people to come into your world. Demand is how we present our offer so that we're tapping into what people already desire. And then energy, or what I like to call your energetic influence, is your capacity to create more and more of these results. Like I mentioned, we're getting one little mini lesson from my Clarity Week 5-week workshop that's happening starting on the 29th of November. But because of the time limit here, we can't go into all of the pieces. So I wanted to pull out the most powerful, most impactful piece from that paid training to share with you today. Carrie is ready to learn. Everybody is ready. Okay, so if you've been in my orbit, you are familiar with brand archetypes, but let me just quickly catch up anybody who is being introduced to this concept for the first time. Brand archetypes, or archetypes in general, are these patterns, these categories, these unconscious knowings that all humans have and that we see across culture, across time, across brands, maybe even across the aisles of the grocery store that you walk down, and they connect us to very universal human desires. Originally, they were popularized by psychologist Carl Jung. More recently, there's been authors like Carol S. Pearson and Margaret Mark who have written some incredible books about it. And I've been personally obsessed with brand archetypes as an application for small entrepreneurs, because the big agencies, they've been, throwing their $1 million budgets at the biggest brands in the world, the Harley Davidsons, the Nikes, and they've been using this tool for decades. But when I first discovered archetypes, there wasn't a lot of people that were applying them to small business, particularly small online business. So I've made it my life's work to distill and to translate these archetypes to make them usable for entrepreneurs like myself and like you. And they connect not only to personality, but to beliefs, to universal values, to themes and metaphors that you can bring into your brand to elevate the conversation beyond the commodity. So when we're just selling a course, or if we're just selling a service, if that's all that we're talking about, our people don't know our value, and they don't know how we're different from the hundreds of other people that are selling similar courses or similar services or similar products. So we need to build in meaning to our brand. And if we tap into these psychological archetypes, our ideal clients, our humans that we want to serve, they get this like quick jolt of understanding because we're tapping into a knowledge that already exists. So I'm going to share some examples of this here in just a second. I'm a huge nerd. I love sci-fi. I grew up watching Star Wars, and I recognized as this nerdy human that I am, I always really identified with or was drawn to certain characters in these movies that I love so much. And as I discovered archetypes later in my life, back in 2013 or so, I realized that a lot of these characters that I love, they represent actually very similar archetypes as myself, which is kind of fun. So Yoda, Gandalf from Lord of the Rings, Mr. Miyagi, and Morpheus from The Matrix, they all have this intersection of the sage archetype and the magician archetype, which I strongly identify with both. Sage is the teacher, the mentor. I love like showing up and teaching here in this type of environment is my zone of genius. It's where I get the most energy. I love doing things like this because I am innately a sage archetype. I'm also all about change and transformation and recognizing inner power to make change happen, which is the universal themes or metaphors that the magician archetype stands for. And you might find similar patterns that show up in your life. So there are 12 brand archetypes that I use in my work. You can see them here on the screen. We have the caregiver, creator, entertainer, explorer, girl or guy next door, hero, innocent, lover, magician, maverick, royal, and sage. As you start to read through those quick descriptions of each, I'm going to bet that there are a couple that are just calling to you because they are you. They are innate to the way that you interact with the world. They are how a friend or a partner or your clients might describe you if asked. And if you have trouble self-identifying what your top archetypes are, I have a quiz on my website that helps you do exactly that. I created it for myself back in the day because I needed this clarity for myself. And the brand archetypes are beautiful because they give us a tool, almost like a prism, or like a prism maybe isn't the right word, but it's a perspective to look through to start to audit your brand. So if you know that you stand for the lover archetype, you can start to look at your copy, your images, your metaphors, your stories, and check back with that lover, that primary archetype of yours, and see if you're representing or exemplifying or embodying that archetype in each and every single one of your brand touch points. From your sales page to the course welcome video to the actual lessons or the content that you're teaching, you can pull in some of these unconscious cues in everything that you do, from the language to the colors to the images and everything in between. So that's a quick introduction to archetypes. I go much deeper into this topic on my website. After the quiz, there's even 12 individual courses, one for each of the archetypes, to help you implement this into your brand. But just having the awareness is powerful. So I wanted to make sure I included it in this training. The O in our clarity code process is to increase brand gravity. What do you mean, Kaye? Well, the old way of doing things, and thankfully this has been heavily disrupted, particularly in the last couple of years, but it was just to buy as many impressions as possible and to sell as much of your product as quickly as possible. I come from the traditional marketing world. I spent a couple years in radio advertising, and that's all it was. It's like you need to have at least 3 impressions over a 12-week period so you get enough times you get in front of people, so hopefully they start to remember you. And of course, there's ways to do that better, but that as your primary strategy, just frequency, and then going immediately to the sale is becoming more and more outdated because consumers are getting smarter and smarter and more discerning and more particular about the brands that they invest in. Thank goodness, right? So as a brand, as a business owner, we also need to evolve to meet consumers where they are at in this sophistication that's happening over time. As markets get more and more competitive, more and more noisy, you have to step your game up to reach new clients and customers. So what we do now is we connect first, and then later down the road, after we've built up enough trust, then we focus on conversions. This is what this looks like. I love the metaphor of a planet, especially like gravitational orbit around a planet when I think about brands, because the more powerful your brand is, the more powerful your gravity is. Like people just come to your world, your orbit, and they stick around longer when you're doing this work well, when you're being unapologetically, amazingly you, whatever that means. So this is a 3-phase system, and our exercise is to identify your primary strategy in each of these 3 phases. So we attract, and then we nurture, and then we convert. An example of an attraction activity is to show up in front of other people's audiences. So I am literally walking this talk right now. I am providing this free workshop that is crammed full of as much value as humanly possible. And I'm teaching it in Teachable's Discover Fast. So I get to hopefully reach people who've never heard of me. They have no idea who this Kaye Putnam chica is. And they get introduced to my brand. Some percentage of them will be interested in what I do. If that's you, I hope you'll come on over. We love nerding out about all things branding. But then some of them don't. So this is an example of an attraction strategy. It's one of my primary attraction strategies. I also love ads, but especially when you're in the beginning stages, or even when you're at that inflection point where you're getting ready to scale up your business, it's really important that you focus your energy. We're going to talk a little bit more about energy in a second, but the simple act of deciding what your primary strategy in each of these 3 phases is going to give you so much more momentum when you double down there. So what is your attract? Are you speaking in front of other people's audiences? Are you running ads? Are you focused on the long-term play of SEO? And if so, are you doing something that's short-term to kind of like bridge that gap until that Google juice kind of starts to kick on? And then once people are in your world, how are you building trust? How are you deepening the relationship with each of these humans? For me, I have my wildly popular brand quiz that, like I said, was a tool for me, and it's become a really useful tool for hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs and humans like you. We also have email automation that consistently delivers value. You could focus on social media content. Again, there's tons of options. I never encourage people to do things exactly the way that I do. You need to find what works best for you. You need to ask yourself, what would 7-year-old self just think was super fun and exciting? Like maybe that's creating graphics. So you find a platform that works really well for that. Or maybe you love teaching and you find more opportunities to teach. Or perhaps you love like the off-the-cuff nature of live video and you might show up on Instagram stories or Facebook Lives. Find your happy place and focus your energy there. Finally, ask yourself, what is going to be your primary strategy to convert? How are you actually going to invite people into your paid offers? I love webinars, again, because we're pairing that teaching piece, but you could also focus on just developing really incredible sales pages, or you might have a sales call that somebody engages with you on where they make that decision, where you're making that ask. So like I said, this is a completely blank slate. You don't have to do what XYZ successful entrepreneur is doing. You need just to find your own favorite way to do each of these three things. How are you going to reach out to people who have no idea who you are yet? How are you going to nurture the people that have discovered you but aren't ready to buy yet? And then how are you going to convert people into paying clients or customers? This stuff really is magic, especially when you're living from your joy and doing the things that you actually like to do instead of the things that you think that you should do. We don't want to should all over ourselves. I've heard other people say, and I resonate with deeply. So you really do want to focus on first, who am I? Who am I really? How can I express that to the world with our archetypes as a tool? There's other tools as well that I teach in more of my courses. But second, how are we going to reach people? Like, how am I going to lead by example by creating this body of work, this content, these experiences, these opportunities, these invitations to bring people into my world and get them to stick around? And then once they're there, moving on to the D in our clarity code framework. Hopefully everybody's doing great. Like, give yourself a little shake. I know I'm moving fast. Make sure you're here, that you're reflecting, that you're having fun. I hope that you're having fun. And let's keep moving. So the D, the demand, is your irresistible offer. I have no doubt, I know without a sliver of doubt in my mind that you have something of incredible value to share. We all have a unique story, a unique set of skills, a unique talent that when we do the great work of creating a product, that's only half of the battle. We still have to talk about it or position it or message it in a way that our potential students, potential clients, they get it. They like see the offer and they're like, that's for me. And I'm excited to pay whatever price that it's listed at because I see the value in the transformation that I'm going to get through that product or service or course. Seth Godin said, the reason it seems that all price is what people care about, your customers care about, is that you haven't given them anything else to care about. We really do need to do the heavy lifting for our potential clients, students, customers to express the value of what we sell. We know how long we've been learning this stuff. Like, we know how many books we've read and courses we've taken to hone our skills, but our client doesn't. And our client may not even value that education if they don't know what that education is going to do for them. So it's this bridge between meeting people where they're at and explaining how our product is going to get them to where they already know that they want to go. We don't ever want to convince people. We don't ever want to tell people that they should want something. We're only tapping into desire that already exists in the market. And this is how we do it. We start to think about what is the context of our offer. And we can answer these 5 questions to create powerful sales language that we can use on our sales pages, in our sales emails, in all of those places where we're trying to convert our ideal client. So first of all, what is the immediate problem that you solve? Even if you sell jewelry, it's kind of hard to like get into the mindset of like you're solving a problem, right? But like somebody's buying that jewelry for a specific reason. Maybe they want to express themselves, or maybe they have a specific event that they're going to. There's always a trigger or a reason why people are seeking out your product, service, or whatever you're selling right now as opposed to some other time. So what is that immediate problem or desire that your product exist to serve. Then we start to get juicy. So what does it cost if our person doesn't solve this problem now? What is the opportunity cost? What if they just ignore it? They're like, I'm putting on my blinders. I know that I probably need a brand, but I'm just going to ignore it and focus on other things. So what is that for you? Also, what emotional needs does your product, service, or course solve? Are you helping people feel more significant? Are you helping them feel connected? Are you helping them feel a sense of achievement? By the way, you can find inspiration for all of these in your archetypes as well. So magician, again, using myself as an example, it's a sense of change. Like people literally want to transform, and I can help them do that. And then for sage, people desire certainty. They desire knowledge. They desire wisdom so that they can feel confident about the route that they choose. So I do that as much as possible because people buy for emotional reasons way more than they buy for the logical reasons. All right, what is possible when they solve this problem? So paint the picture of what is this utopia, this promised land that you're bringing them to. Where are you going after they go through the course? What's on the other side? How are they going to see their own success? How are they going to measure their own success? What is possible? And then lastly, why are other options inadequate? And this would be like substitution. So if you're selling copywriting, the other options might be another copywriter, but it also might be a DIY copywriting course, or maybe it's one of those new AI copywriting tools, or perhaps it's just hiring a completely separate modality altogether because copywriting's ultimate goal is to sell products. So maybe they decide to sell products by investing in sales training or investing in a designer. There's substitutions to get to the desired goal. So make sure that you understand and can communicate clearly, like literally communicate to people, why is this option, this thing that you're selling, the very best for them? So here is an example for my own course that I will be telling you more about when we get done through each of these exercises. Okay, so the immediate problem, especially when I'm talking to the Teachable audience, is how do I present my course so that people want to buy it? That's the question that people are often asking themselves. So to go back here, what does it cost if they don't solve this problem? It is lost opportunity, lost sales, students that you could have helped, people that desperately need your help, but they just don't understand that you can provide it. The emotional benefits are, as a course creator, feeling proud of how you show up, feeling confident when you tell people about your course, and feeling like you know what you're talking about and you know what to talk about when you create for social media or wherever you're creating content. What's possible is an entirely different lifestyle. When you're selling online products and courses and services, you could perhaps travel, or you can design your own job description. You don't have to do all of those things that somebody else tells you what to do. You get to share your unique genius with the world. And then the reason why other options are inadequate or not the same as mine is they focus on surface level tactics or surface level strategy, surface level how things look, but we're really starting from the inside out. I ask you to go deep right away in all of my courses and products and to look at the inside, the psychological level, the unconscious level, when we are addressing all of these questions. And then finally, the E of the Clarity Code process is something that I added more recently, maybe end of 2019. And thank goodness I did, because we all know what happened in 2020 and 21. And it is focusing on your energy. Chances are you don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars in budget. Chances are you don't have hundreds of team members or people on your employer roster. If you're like most people that I work with, either you are on your own or you perhaps have a small team of contractors that helps you out, or maybe one or two employees. That's my typical client. So if you ignore the energetic aspect of your brand, nothing else works. Like, you could have the most beautiful brand in the world, you could have the best marketing strategy, but if you can't get out of bed to execute on what you're doing and to show up embodying your own work and excited about your own work, you're not going to get other people excited. So you have to focus on the energy piece. And the most profound realization I made is something I call spiral theory. And I realized this in that time frame that I just mentioned, 2019. We had just moved from, my hubby had just gotten out of the military. We had done a bit of a sabbatical, hiked to Everest Base Camp, which was amazing. And then we were moving to North Carolina, where we now live, and we're stuck in a hotel for several months as we did the house shopping situation. And I realized in that hotel living, I wasn't eating well. I was having too many poolside cocktails. I was sleeping in. I didn't have a very good schedule. And I felt like from the depths of my soul, this sense of lethargy and even despair. It was a really rough time. And I decided that things needed to change. It's happened that it coincided with us finding a place to move into, and I now had control over my environment. So I created what I called my quantum quarter, and I designed a whole menu of things that added to my energy. And I focused on adding as many of those things to my day as possible. And then I also created some awareness around what are those things that are draining my power, draining my force that I could bring to the world and to impact people. And then lastly, most people don't listen to this one. And if you've ever heard that quote, that Pinterest graphic of, we all have the same 24 hours a day, Beyonce, Oprah, you, and rolled your eyes, it's because we're not taking into account this third column, which is our resources. Let me share my personal, and hopefully you'll bear with how vulnerable this is, but this is my personal energy audit that I did when I sat down to create and design that quantum quarter. My deposits are anytime I move my body. It's eating plants, it's drinking water, it's taking breaks and vacations, playing, all of those things. And the things that were draining me were scrolling on my phone. Anytime I had sugar, I could feel this crash after. Taking care of my kids, which I love to do, but it also takes energy. So just knowing that you're not going to remove all of the drains, but we want to replace as many as possible with things from the deposit list. And then recognize where you have resources, recognize where you have support, because that can multiply your energy. If you have team members that are helping you, if you have family that's helping you accomplish tasks around the home, if you have courses like this that are fueling you with knowledge and motivation to go and sell more, to work on your brand, to serve more people, that is a resource. And they don't necessarily have to cost money, but some of them do. But make sure that you're leaning on as much of your available resources as possible so that you don't have to use all of your own personal energy to bring every single thing to life. James Clear, who has an amazing book, it's behind me, Atomic Habits, he says, you choose the future with your actions each day. And I have witnessed that in my own life. All right, so to recap, the clarity code. Core, what is your innate advantage? O is your brand orbit. What are your 3 strategies to attract, to nurture, and I have the word serve here, but it's really to convert. I wanted to make that a bit more clear. D, how can you increase demand for your offer by answering those questions that are the context around your offer? It's not just about selling our thing. It's not just about selling our widget or creating a better widget. We have to understand what role this widget plays in people's lives and how we can interject our messaging into the conversations that are already playing in our ideal student's mind. And then energy. How can I set the conditions to make my success inevitable? We are capable of so much but we need to be deliberate and intentional and not self-sabotage. Got the t-shirt. I know exactly how this feels. But when we're intentional, that means that we can show up and we can serve more people, and we can get that genius out of our head and into the lives of the people that most benefit.